everyone, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn, and today I would like to cover the second part of a simple system for black against the King's Gambit. So in the first part I covered e4, e5, f4, e takes f, knight f3 move, and here I recommend you a very simple way to play for black. This is a very rare system and you avoid pretty much all theory with the move knight f6, and I show you the plan is e5 knight e4, d3 knight g5, bishop takes knight e6, followed by d6, and you basically solved most, if not all, your opening problems. So now I want to talk a little bit about what else white can play in this position. So besides knight f3, nowadays bishop c4 has gained popularity. Now this is not as much played compared to the main line, but nevertheless you have to know what to play here as black. As a matter of fact, bishop c4 has been played at a recent Super Grandmaster tournament, Grand Prix tournament in Sochi by Grandmaster Navara against Boris Gelfand. So you see, you might be able to still see King's Gambit at the highest level. Now the move I recommend is very simple, knight f6. Notice that there is no need to play moves such as queen h4, as you only help white. So white can simply play king f1, followed by knight f3, hitting the queen with a tempo, then d4, and this is exactly the type of position white is looking for in this opening. Now after knight f6, white has to play knight c3, and let's take a look at why e5 is not that great. Well, black has several moves, but I think the simple way is to play d5, and now if white takes the knight, you simply take the bishop, and you're not afraid of queen a2 check, bishop e6, and if pawn takes, bishop takes. And now black is ahead in development. You have a bishop pair, and black is going to castle either queenside or kingside with a very fast development. So that's why knight c3 is the right move. And to give you an idea behind black's setup is you have to go for the d5 move. Immediate d5, of course, is no good. That's why you prepare it with c6. So now there is no defense against d5. Again, e5, you can play simple d5 with the similar ideas we just looked at. That's why white usually anticipates this move and plays bishop b3. Well, now you gain the important tempo because bishop moved back, you play d5. And notice the plan is very similar to the other line. You destroyed the e4 pawn. So playing e5 now is no good for white. That's why he has to take pawn takes. And now you destroyed the central pawn, which is the key in this opening. So now I can pretty much say that you have solved all your opening problems. But let's see what would happen next. Navara played against Gelfand knight f3, which is a reasonable move, but more popular way is to play d4, immediately opening up the dark square bishop, and black can simply play bishop d6 with similar plays in the game, or I would actually recommend to play more aggressive move, so to say, bishop b4. Now with this move you're actually fighting for the e4 outpost for your knight. And after bishop b4, the following could happen. white can play bishop takes pawn. And now simply knight e4, knight g2, castles, castles. And here this is okay to part with the dark square bishop. Bishop takes, knight takes. Well, if pawn takes, really the knight on e4 is way too strong compared to knight on e2. And now you take and play bishop e6. White does have the bishop pair, but this is one of those positions where the double pawns and the bishop on b3 make the light square bishop completely isolated from the main game, and you simply follow up with knight c6, knight a5, queen d7, and have absolutely no problems. So, but of course, instead of bishop b4, you can play the typical bishop d6, which usually transposes after knight f3. Okay. So let's take a look at the game Navara Gelfand. And Navara is a Czech grandmaster, and he plays knight f3. Of course, Boris Gelfand knows his openings quite well, so I have no doubt that he has studied this line before, and he's not surprised by this move, knight f3. He simply plays bishop to d6. So, if you're white, you're down a pawn, what do? That's a good question. Well, immediately you try to get control of the center with d4. Now, is knight takes d5 a possibility here? Sure, why not? Well, the problem though is black has several good ways. One of them is simply to take and castle. And now, if white is not careful and he castles, he's gonna get in trouble because of bishop c5 check, hitting the bishop. So white has only one way now, is to play d4, queen takes, pawn takes, queen takes c5, and after king to h1, black is simply up a pawn, and even if he loses the f4 pawn, he is not really afraid of anything in particular here. So black is slightly better. So that's why David plays immediate d4, trying to get ahead in development, but really black is going to solve all his opening problems with the next move. So d4, knight c6, castles. Again, taking on d5 is bad because of this bishop b4 check, and after c3, queen takes, b takes, c takes b, it's clear that white is in trouble. I can simply take with the knight, or give queen e4 check, or simply castle. All of these moves lead to a good game for black. So really taking on d5 is not that great. That's why white simply castles. And with the move bishop e6, black is one more move away from castling and finishing his development. And white really has to justify his pawn sacrifice. So that's why white doesn't waste time and plays immediate knight g5, trying to hit the bishop and f4 pawn. And at this point you have to realize that there is no need to kind of keep defending the pawn in f4 because it's really doomed, and instead you want to focus on finishing your development, and Gelfand plays the correct castle. Now bishop takes f4 and simply h6. What he is saying is that I want you to take the bishop on e6. That would help my pawn defending the weak pawn on d5. it's going to build a more powerful bind against the bishop on b3, basically taking him out of the game. And now the following happened. Knight takes, pawn takes, knight e2, which is a correct move because knight is not doing anything on c3. And now white is, you can say, 2 moves away from getting a good position with c3 and bishop c2. So this is kind of the last moment of the game where black had to make one accurate move. Knight a5. Well, the bishop is not going anywhere. And after c3, knight takes, queen takes. Black has simply equalized without any problems. So you might ask a question, well, is the pawn on e6 weak here? And the answer is not really. The pawn is easily defended with black's pieces. Moreover, white doesn't really have time to build up his army to really put any kind of dangerous pressure on that pawn. And the more pieces come off the board, much easier it is for black to defend the pawn on e6. So after b6, this middle game is about even. So let's see what happened in the game. Rook f3, knight h5. So again, simplifications are good for black. Rook a to f1. And now simply we trade everything on f4. And this is totally even position. They could have agreed to a draw, but they played on queen g5, g3, rook f8, and a few moves later the game was drawn. So again, let's go back and try to understand the key moments in the opening for black. So after e4, e5, f4, e takes, f bishop c4. Here you want to play knight f6 because you're not afraid of e5, which you can simply meet with d5. And now white has to play knight c3. Again, black's plan is to prepare d5, thus his next move c6. White almost always plays bishop b3. Now, you might ask a question, what happens if white follows up with the central play with the move d4? Well, in this case, I recommend you to play immediate bishop b4, e5, knight e4. You see, you're putting pressure on the c3 knight, which is pinned. And now, if white plays queen f3, you have this beautiful move, queen h4 check. Because you're not afraid of g3, pawn takes, and now if queen takes f7 or bishop takes f7, you simply play king d8. And if you look at this position, it is white who is in trouble. The knight on c3 is hanging. Move g2 check is really a problem for white, and rook f8. So really white is falling apart here. So there was a game where white played king f1 and black simply played d5 now. Again, d5 was a very thematic idea in these positions. Pawn takes, knight takes, and black got a good game. Alright, so let's revert to the main line. So bishop b3, d5, pawn takes, pawn takes. Now, don't be afraid of the isolated pawn on d5, because you're still up a pawn, and it's going to take white some time to capture it back. So these types of positions are, I should say, already about even, but for completeness, after knight f3, bishop d6, d4, knight c6, castles, bishop e6, knight g5, castles, you have really nothing to worry about. Bishop takes h6, takes, knight e2. Again, the key move now is you gotta stop c3, bishop c2 with a simple move knight a5. And the game is about even. And black has a very comfortable play, actually. There are no visible problems that white can throw at you. So this concludes the very simple system against the King's Gambit. And I hope you're going to enjoy these lines and win a lot of games in the future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
This is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for OnlineChessLessons.net. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from OnlineChessLessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.